Hello, I'm Julia Bushkova. Greetings, my subscribers. I hope you have been practicing hard, using all the videos on my channel. And today I'm going to present you with another concerto video. That will be a look at Vieuxtemps Concerto number 5, one of our favorites in our repertoire. And assisting me today is my student, Alette Williams. She will be working with me on the certain spots, most likely because concerto is quite long, so on certain spots in the concerto, certain spots that are important for everybody to know how to practice and how to perform well. So, Alette, let's start with something really nice. What are your favorite portions or favorite spots in this concerto?
My first favorite spot to play would probably be measure 91 or the odd tempo after C. Sorry, is that too long? I just realized.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously everything is a favorite spot for Alette, and that's how it should be. And why is it our favorite ones? I think it's because right there we see the essence of Vieuxtemps' writing and his expression. He was very famous for having sort of the violinistic bel canto, the expressive playing, and yet very elegant. And he was known for his ultimate elegance in performance. Understated sometimes, not as open, for instance, maybe as Paganini was outwardly, but nevertheless very, very expressive. Okay, so we are going for more of this expression in the sound, in vibrato, and in usage of the bow. It's very important because, again, we're mostly playing here using just even bows, down and up, or half a bar, and yet you need to create a lot of kind of dramatic or expressive lines in there. Okay, so we'll start back with this G open. We vibrate G open for sure by placing third finger exactly on the G also, right? And then after that, don't do too much right away of big crescendo here. You don't need it yet, but a little bit, and then when you go up, then of course you do. Then you pull out of this, then the longer line starts, right? And that longer line needs to be done really nicely at the end. So if you can save the bow a little bit on the last 4 notes before you get to pianissimo,
Okay.
right? So the last note before pianissimo has more bow and more attention on it. Back to the G open. Very nice. That would be very nice. Even a little bit more bow on that E. Yes, I know you're going to the frog, but it can be done, right? So you need to have enough bow. And then change the character. Can you do just that bar from B flat? Yeah, you're a little bit saving the bow for that last E. Try to save the bow before. Yeah, and a little bit time, of course. We always take time before we go into Subito piano, right? And a little diminuendo at the end of that E will be perfectly fine, okay? So you just save right and there. Okay, could you do that last bar only from B flat? Yeah, and intensity of vibrato. Intensity. If we are, when we are soft in the right hand, our left hand usually also wants to become sort of a little slacking, and we have to counteract this, you know, by speeding up vibrato. The same bar, please, one more time. Yeah, a little bit faster. So yes, just basically exaggerating a little bit of your own lines that we already worked on. And in this case, Alette is really going by what is written in the score. We are not inventing anything, following the wonderful dynamics that Vieuxtemps wrote in there, and character with that. And what is especially what I liked, and we worked on this, in this particular place where there are a lot of reaches, you know, here. Yeah, so do you remember how you played it at first? There were first more glisses in between. Those need to be eliminated. Those need to be very tastefully done. And in Alette's case right now, she did a beautiful job because there was one specific glissando leading to the arrival note. And that's what we constantly have to choose, okay? I don't think I will need necessarily you to repeat it. And then you got really carried away and kept playing, and we went into another fun area of the passage work. But I think right now I would ask you about your next favorite spot. I mean, of course, I know probably the whole rest of that page would be, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But we kind of gave our listeners already some taste of it. And what's your second one or next one?
My second favorite place is the second solo, or measure 210.
Oh, yeah. The B major section, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's show people what that is. Okay, good. All right, very nice. We're stopping here. You know what? Yes, I do like that. Well, I think everybody loves that place, especially after we rested a bit after a very strenuous workout before. All right, couple things to make it better. First of all, I know you know the character. It's not a good idea to start it basically from. You see how it's static and there is not enough. You need to have more impetus before you play and not accent from the string like this, okay? So let's do that. Good, okay, so that one, and even just train a bigger gesture before, because it's true that we still start on the string. It's also true. We start from the string, and yet it shouldn't be, you know, some kind of moment of preparation. One more time. Okay, one more time. Now you will touch. You will touch, not yes, but the same idea before. Exactly. Okay, so that was a good one. That's the one we like. Okay, number 2. Immediately after, for energy. Now we're going after energy, after that portrayal of energy and rising in, again, in excitement, right? So you have first one, you play some kind of a turbulent rise there, and then second one, basically the same notes, right? Then another rise, much more difficult, much more virtuosic, with the chords broken, right? And the last one, where he puts it. So we have to do this in several ways. With the beginning, you only do the first beginning. After that, you're on the string, correct? Yeah. So what you can do is, you know, to look for not to have it too short. The first one might stay as you do it, but subsequent ones need to be more energetic. how do we do energetic short notes? Very simply, we use more bow on them. Not more time, but more bow. So this one, or just the physical motion, working a little faster, a little more, creates that energy. So let's do one more time.
From the second?
Yeah, from the B. Mm-hmm. Good, and then goes that connecting, kind of turbulent connecting passage. Now there you notice there was some kind of something was uneven a bit, and I think you know how to fix it. So I trust you. Now let's go from there. Just don't press with the fingers too much. Yes, okay. Now what you could train a little bit so that it's not longer. It's just faster movement with more bow on the string. One more time. Just let the end. So aim for. That's a good cool trick actually. You aim for 1/4 of the bow for that short note. You aim for it. Of course, it won't be that way, but aiming will make that energy. From tam pa pam or the bow. Yeah, exactly, and still faster. Yeah, so the faster is the short note, not the rest faster, right? Okay, and the last one, tam pam pa pam. Here you need more F and more B and more F, probably in sort of like an accent on the F sharp, tam. And here you can have a ta 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 ta. Here you have it maybe a little bit even longer, not purposefully longer, but you can using more bow. You see what I mean? So that way we get our 3 arrivals. Okay, so the passage is up. Should you do them in a little bit slower tempo? The second one, the chords. So usually it is in your case I think it's a one before last, the shift one before last, right? It's not very as all the time as successful. So that's where the hand, and Alette has smaller hand, when you're getting out there, right? So you need to know exactly where you're going to be moving. Maybe you should, or maybe you can try to reach a little bit. Try it from that one more time. Yeah, you see it? I mean, that when you go into the E, let me see, the A sharp. Yeah, okay, from E. Can you start from E? So it's between the C sharp to the C sharp and to the E in the bass. We're talking about the bass notes, right? So the 2 last ones. Yeah, you need to control a little bit more how far you go along, how far she goes along the fingerboard. Now, if you have a bigger hand, then you don't need to worry about this because Alette has to come over here. Like in my case, for instance, I would not need to. I would most likely, well, a little bit maybe, but you actually have to be here, right? So it depends on the size of your hand. But just to know exactly where you make a little correction, that's where the important part is. And not to press with the bow too much. I know it goes up and we're excited, but pressing with the bow when you're high up on the strings is not a good idea. Always lighter. Okay, a little bit more bow, yes, but always lighter. Okay, so that was our favorite spot number 2. And should I be asking you about favorite spot number 3? Or maybe we should go to tricky spots now,
Yeah,
maybe we should. Okay. Tricky spot number 1. I think we will also agree on that one.
150.
Yep, I thought so. And by the way, that's a tricky spot for everybody. If favorite spots may be different for different people, but that one is universally so. So 150, let's just play it. It's a tempo after, well, anyway, you will find it by numbers or it is before E. It is 6 measures, 6 bars before letter E, if you have that edition. All right, let's look at it. Let's go just stop in here because yes, it's all tricky. So, but the tricky part, number 1, is those chords that are legato. So very nicely done right now. So what you could see in Alette's doing correctly is that her elbow is very now gradual. So right elbow is definitely our moving parts, like an elevator that takes us from the 4th floor to the 1st floor and back to the 4th. Okay, do you remember what kind of problem you had at first with that part?
All the notes were uneven.
Yeah, they were kind of... By the way, I'm not sure you did that, what I just showed, but many people would do that. So for many people, it would be not necessarily the right elbow, what for many will be, but the fingers, you know, doing this. In other words, not going... not evenly when the turn of the left hand is to act. Okay, so show me, well, I guess you can probably go back and show me how it was not so good, because we fixed it. But we fixed it by, what exercise did you do?
Each note, like, I would start with the first.
Okay.
The first note of each one, and then the second note of each one.
Show me the second note. Okay, and you use certain rhythm. What you do, okay, third note now, featuring the third one. Yeah. So featuring one string at a time in terms of elbow is a very good idea. Another very good idea exercise here is to do just for the evenness of the bow, which I don't think I told you because you didn't need it, but what we do for elbow. But you did that, I think, many times, a year ago on something else. It is very fast motion of elbow down and waiting on the next string. Okay, so the fast movement, it's like fixating the elbow on the next level and then up with stops. And then gradually removing the stops and going to that. So that also helps, even though you particularly didn't need it at that point. For other people, it will be very useful. And then, of course, looking at your fingers, not rushing on E string. Okay. Next, really tricky spot, where I think we're going to skip the arpeggios up. They're tricky, but they just need work, slower to faster. What's really tricky is what comes later when you start doing descending chords. Could you show us those from maybe from G, open G? Yeah, that one. And so, and here I must say that you're really successful with executing this because you're doing it very correctly. Did you start from that feel when you first started playing?
No.
Do you remember what you did in terms of your hand movement in the very beginning and how it was just maybe slower? Do you remember? By the time you reach the first position, first, second.
Yeah, I trained it really slowly. I'm just trying to keep my hand in the same position.
Yeah, at first what you were doing,
shifting.
at first what Alette was doing actually was this, in trying to reach fingers with the help of the wrist, which is what most people do. And then luckily we corrected it right away, and she's now doing it very correctly. So if you want, don't play the whole thing, you just go to already B flat and A, you know, that, yeah, and maybe a little bit slower. So here I want you to, is it visible that her hand is completely still in here, completely straight also. So that, and then don't play with the bow, just move down to the A. And then back to, yes. So she is raising the other fingers, the middle fingers, but the first is staying on the string, of course. Maybe you're playing legato there also. But it's very important that everything is adjusting to that slide. You know, so there's no wrist should be poking out, as I call it. That is the death of that. And the people who try to do this, they never sound very good. Okay, so we fixed it right in the beginning, so that works. Now we will go to a tricky part number 2. Well, would that be?
H or 257.
Okay, yes. But you know what? I think that 257, well, it was not too bad. Not at first, anyway, right? In the slower tempo, it was okay. But tell me, what was the trouble there?
I had a hard time, like, keeping my bow at the tip doing the Martelé. I kept
Right.
like migrating.
That is correct. So here there is, okay, can you show us the beginning? Correct. So with Martelé, the main thing is that we bite and then we release, right? So a little bit slower with more bite. Can you demonstrate it, please? Yeah, and of course when it is that nicely slow, it is easier to do, and the beginnings right now are great, okay? So your goal will be to keep them, to keep biting. Now, how we bite? We don't bite with our mouth, obviously, here. We bite with our index finger into the bow. So it's that function. So when I press only with the first finger, and I depress the stick to the hair, and that happens on the beginning of the notes. And then at the end, there is a release. Okay, so in faster tempo, it's obviously harder. So you still need to work a little bit so that they will be bitier. Can you one more time play it? Try to bite a little bit more. Yeah, also here on in upper strings. Yeah, more on up when you're close to the wood. So again, it says at the tip, to play it at the tip. Of course, you don't have to be a slave for it, to it rather, and stay just really to the tip. You can go a little bit off. You're basically playing wide the tip. You're basically playing in the part of the bow that is thin wood, okay? And so that's why it's easier to release is easier. But the bite, you can still do. And you're a strong person. You can definitely do it. Let's go on the upper position, yeah, from E. Yeah. Correct. Yes, they are bows, especially when they're on the beat, okay? Tam pia pa 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 on the E, then on B, then there will be an E open. So yeah, B is missing. Exactly. Okay. So constantly on the first beat and the second beat, and maybe on the third and the fourth, if when necessary. For instance, next one, tam pam 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 pam. Then third beat, of course. Oops. Third beat will get more. Correct? Okay, so, but in general, if your Martelé is good, Martelé practice shouldn't be just only here. Did you practice Martelé at all on scales or anything else? No. Not maybe right now, but before, when you practiced Martelé in your life?
Probably.
Probably, yes, I'm sure, very likely. So if you are playing this concerto and you haven't practiced Martelé on scales, I would very much recommend it. Take a scale in third position, 2-octave scale, no shifts, and just do your Martelés. And so forth. And then you go to next string, to the E string, then you choose, next day choose a scale in a different position, or just to play a 3-octave scale with shifts, but in that tempo so that you train the bites. That's very useful. The ending. Let's look at the ending of this section. Okay, so, and right now you see, of course, it works. It's a bit under tempo, obviously, and we're in a relaxed situation. But we know what can happen to those octaves, right? Okay, so there's something you might want to practice Alette actually a little bit differently. So what Alette is doing right now, she's constantly lifting both fingers, number 2 and 4, because the first finger, of course, slides, and so forth. First finger is constantly on the string, right? Similar to the other passage, by the way, right in the beginning. And this one, you're lifting it all the time. What I would recommend that you will, when you start, yes, lift when they change the shape between 2 and 1. Play for me right now. Well, you know what? So play for me, for our audience, only what the first and second are doing, without the octave. Correct, exactly. So we have their sixths, and some of these sixths are far apart, right? And some of them are close together. We are not going to even call them by intervals right now because we are here interested in practicality. So first they are far apart and then they're close together. So when you are in one shape, and now add the octave to it, you know, yeah? Yes. And so there you are in that configuration, correct? So next move, you're getting together. Lift that fourth finger. But I would even keep the second one on. You don't need to lift the second. Okay, just like you did right now in exercise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, lift the fourth. Yeah, as you before, but not the second. Yeah. Yeah, keep the second on. You see what I mean? Okay. So here we have basically. So you want to keep these two on. You don't need to lift those two, okay? Because they're very comfortable and happy sliding. All right, do the sliding one more time without octaves. And now they come apart. And now they came apart and they slide apart. Exactly. Your goal is to do this. So I am not playing it with the bow maybe, but right now it's actually, I will play it with the bow so you can hear it. And then after that, you see, if I'm repeating them back and forth, if I repeat them, I'm not going to lift any of them. Why? If yours is clean, it's just this. It moves exactly the same way, everything. You see? It's fixed in that position. The same thing happens on the bottom, by the way. Your goal is to land the fourth finger one time, lift it, land it, in tune. And then after that, you just move back and forth, completely not moving in between. You see what I mean? That assures very good intonation here. All right, so do it right now yourself. So now you lift the fourth. But here you don't need to lift because you already have the same, everything the same. So keep it at like this, go up without lifting anything, go up half step. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, now here you can lift and put it back on. You see what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah. It's much more ergonomic, right? It's simpler. Life is easier. We like it that way. Okay, so in other words, whenever you shift, whenever the hand is in the same position, keep all the fingers on the string. Okay? So you know how we, for instance, play some, some arpeggios like that. We will never do, things like that. Some people do. Not very good idea. But it's very comfortable. All three fingers go the same way. The same thing here. Yes, exactly like you do in the other ones. All right, so I think we went through some of our favorite spots and some of the tricky spots, but definitely not all of them. There are many more. However, I think we will leave our audience right now with this to digest and practice. And What do you think of coming back to it one more time?
Yeah, that'd
And
be
doing
great.
some more? Yeah. All right. So, if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please do it now. If you like the content, please like it. And Alette and I, we will see you all later.